Is that my cue? Welcome to an all new Hit It! Downright Sports. I am your host, the Notorious Sports Critic, Brent Reid. I won't even lie to you. I missed the mark. Over 200 shows, and this is the first time ever I missed the mark because I was trying to post the show and I completely missed the mark. It happens, people. It happens. That's what happens when you record live and you don't edit at all. But welcome everybody to an all new Downright Sports. I am the Notorious Sports Critic, Brent Reid, and we are here with another week after a week off to kick back, give you the deep insight take on all things sports here live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and if I had hit the play button, Instagram later or TikTok, but I didn't. It's all good. It's all good. We make it up as we go along, don't we? If you've never listened to the show before, it is a show for sports fans by a sports fan. And I'm looking, and I might have, after all this time, like I said, over 200 something shows, I think I finally, for YouTube and Facebook, found the camera angles that I've been looking for. Like, these are much better angles in my opinion. And funny enough, the YouTube feed is not the same as the Facebook feed as far as like what you see. You see a little more on YouTube versus what you do on Facebook and in TikTok. You know, we just edit and chop it up however we want. And I'm kind of trying to do different things to experiment. You know, people today take in their viewership so different. It's not as much horizontal anymore. It's more vertical. And I prefer the horizontal way. You know, people get more of the widescreen, but if you want people to watch, you got to do shorter formats and stuff like that. And the good news is that the podcast itself, if you're interested in it in a whole, you can listen to it by downloading it on Apple or Spotify. You can also listen always on DJ Chase Radio, cheap plug, by downloading it. But, you know, I haven't in a while. I record every episode in some form or fashion. I record every episode, and I have not cut up an episode in a while. I haven't cut it up, chopped it up, edited it to kind of fit in post because I haven't been pleased either what I'm putting out or what I'm saying. So I kind of been a little lazy on that, but hopefully this show this week will be entertaining, blockbuster, captivating, controversial. I'm just going to keep saying stuff until my head explodes. It's been on my tongue to to start cursing, but I don't want to. Like, I really don't want to take it there. Darn it. I really don't want to take it there. I've done the show for so long without cursing. I'm going to kind of stick to that. I really am. Anyway. The NFL. Because that's what my script says I'm supposed to be talking about. The NFL is just wrapped up its 8th week. A lot of what would you say the storyline is? Let's do that. What would most people say the NFL storyline is this first half of the season? It could be that the Washington Commanders are completely going backwards, mainly because their quarterback has been hurt all year. The Ravens is just floundering because they also don't have their quarterback. Jacksonville looks a little bit better. The Kansas City Chiefs started out slow but look like they're surging. Aaron Rodgers may have found a second home in Pittsburgh. The Jets and the Giants are completely dumpster fires. And the perfect example of if just because you're in a big market does not mean you're guaranteed to win anything. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer fact it's tough to play in New York. If you look at the Mets, if you look at the Knicks, if you look at, the Rangers and the Islanders, outside of the Liberty, New York sports teams cannot win. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that you don't sleep in that damn city. If you're an athlete, you're a football player, and you get drafted or you sign with one of these teams, do you know there's basically after you go to practice and after you do your media junkets and all this stuff, like if you don't want to go to bed, you can just stay up, and now you're just up. Versus if you play, let me just look on the board here. Charlotte, everything is done by 1 o'clock in the morning. You gotta go to bed. So New York, in a way, right? If you think about the great New York teams, and this is not what the show's about, but if you think about great New York teams, it's people who embrace that mentality, that animalistic mentality. Lawrence Taylor, uh, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter. You kind of you look at the stars of New York, and there are people who don't make excuses. There are people who wake up every day, whether they're tired or not, they keep playing. And if you need any more proof in that, like Mickey Mantle is one of the greatest sports athletes of all time. It is a known fact he did not sleep. Babe Ruth, the biggest icon in probably any sport, was a party animal. Like they set the tone practically almost literally 100 years ago. They set the tone to it's probably a little more than it's 100 years ago. Babe Ruth signed with the Yankees almost 100 years. It's been over 100 years since he signed with the Yankees. That's crazy to think about. But in any case, you gotta say to yourself, like, he was rocking and rolling. You listen to the Lawrence Taylors, the Joe Namaths, like, these guys did not sleep, but they they went to work. And if you are a creature of habit and you need routines, well, it ain't gonna work in New York. And if you're a coach if you're a GM, a coach that cannot help players embrace the chaos, they're gonna just fail every time. And the Jets have proven that time and time again. The Giants have proven that time and time again. The Knicks are finally kind of getting it together. The Yankees, they have a consistency of winning in the culture, but they haven't won jack squat. And the Mets still haven't figured it out. But if you look, one of the most celebrated Mets teams were basically just doing coke at third base. So, you gotta, do you want to be the family team or you want to win? You better pick one. All right. With that being said, there are a few teams in the NFL this season where I have, Brent Reid, a nickname my wife hates, the Monday through Sunday delight, have picked a handful of teams that I think right now stand out head and shoulders better than everybody. Are you ready? So you have New England, you have Denver, Philly, and the Colts. Is that what I wrote down? Because I got a lot of teams. Oh, here it is. Notes is everywhere, kids. Denver, the Colts, New England, Philly. I did have Tampa with a question mark, but I removed them, and I left it down to just those four. All right? So, how's this season look? So, the Colts have shocked the world and basically have made the Giants and made my argument stand true that you can't do both. You can't hang out and be a rock star and win. Daniel Jones goes to the Colts and has this team as the best record-wise team in the NFL at 7-1. Denver, after a few years and a few stints, and now Sean Payton, which I'm going to jump on and pause in a second, he's turned this franchise around. They're one of the better teams in the league at 6-2. New England, new head coach, same quarterback, basically almost the same team they had last year, and they're now 6-2. Philadelphia is continuously one of the better teams and defending champions at 6-2. So what makes these teams stand out? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's an amazing question. I'm glad you interrupted me to ask, but I will make an argument that what we see here is not necessarily going to win you a Super Bowl. Because a lot of these teams have some flaws, but let's jump into it. So, if we look at basically the Colts, right? They're one of the best offensive teams overall. As far as yards go, they're total yards. They're the number one in total yards. They're also number one in yards per play at 6.5. They stand head and shoulders, but when it comes to in rushing, they're fifth in rushing behind the Panthers and the Broncos, who were second. The Jets, believe it or not, in the Bills. Jets ain't got no choice because their quarterback is trash, so they got to run the ball. If you look at total, I told you in total offense, it's the Colts, it's the Cowboys, it's the Chargers, it's Denver, and it's New England. So three of the teams I picked are in the top five. Net yards in the passing game, which is very important because that means your quarterback is literally your field general. The Colts are second behind the Seahawks, and New England is fourth. All right. Now, the part of the game that matters, defense. Points allowed, New England is the only team in the top five in points allowed. Denver's eighth, the Colts are 11th. Philly is 23rd. Philly's not even in the top 10 in offense currently right now, based on my research. That's what everybody likes to say. They use the word research. I didn't do any research. I went on the internet and looked it up. It's much research I did. All right. Passing yards allowed. Here we go again. Denver. None of the teams I picked are in the top five. Denver is 12th. Philly's 23rd. The Colts are 30th. Believe it or not, which is I'm going to get my argument. Rushing yards allowed. Seahawks, Green Bay, New England, Lions, Texans. Colts are 12th. Broncos are 14th. Philly is 23rd. Takeaways, which is a category I really like. Colts are third. Bears, Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Texans. And so if you take a look at a lot of what I said, the Colts right now in the first part of the season have the best record, but based on a lot of what I looked at defensively, they just haven't been exposed yet. If you look who the Colts have played, they played Miami, who they beat. They played Denver, who they beat. They beat the Texans twice, who suck. They beat the Rams. They lost to the Rams, which is going to give me my point. They beat the Raiders, who suck. Arizona, who sucks. The Chargers, who are on the brink of doing one or the other. And that's it, right? But they did lose to the Rams, a team that is good at passing, getting the ball in the air. And what did we say the Colts were? They're one of the worst teams when it comes to passing yards allowed. Now, going forward, they face Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Kansas City, Houston, Jacksonville, the Seahawks, San Francisco, Jacksonville again, and Houston. I actually believe in this next run that they have, I believe the Colts are going to go 4-4 with one push because I don't know which way the Steelers could go. The Steelers versus the Colts, which is this coming week, which is a must-watch game. The Steelers' defense can really show out and maybe expose the Colts and Daniel Jones, or Daniel Jones and the Colts kind of expose all the flaws in the Steelers. The problem is the Colts aren't very good at the pass, and even in the case of rushing, getting back there, in the case of rushing yards allowed, they're in the top 15. But the Steelers, one thing they have been able to do pretty good is put the ball in the air and get it down the field. Aaron Rodgers, on this resurgence and this second wind, if you will, is got the Steelers playing fairly well. So if I'm the Colts in this game, I'm really afraid because is this the game where I kind of get exposed and now all of a sudden things can happen? I feel like the Colts, who, again, God bless them for having the year they have right now, barring any setbacks, could make the playoffs, will make the playoffs. But I have them, again, Pittsburgh is a push. I have them losing to Kansas City. Okay, they play Kansas City once this year, and I think Kansas City, in my opinion, is still one of the teams that you have to watch and beat because defensively, they rank top 15 in all defensive categories, which is amazing. Their offense is starting to kind of click now. But I got them losing to Kansas City. I got them losing to Houston, who's one of the better defensive teams. I think they could slip up and take an L to Jacksonville because that's a rivalry game, and then Houston again, which brings them to 4-4, which if the season ends right now, we got to do a little math. Math, it's tricky. That's tricky. Be easy. What we're going to do is we're going to bring up the cut. Remember you do math when you were a kid, if you're my age, I'm 39, they wouldn't let you use a calculator, so you got to use your fingers or you had to use those. Dang, I need my wife because I forget what they call. But you like subtract and move the balls. I hated them things. But so basically, I got them going 11, finishing 11-5, which is not too bad. You know what I mean? Pretty good. It's pretty good. Denver, a team that I want to lose all the time now because Sean Payton, for some reason, has a very extreme hard on for Russell Wilson, who, can't, what he can't do on the field, he can't do on the field. That's, that is what it is. But he's been a very stand-up man, and the fact that he decided to take a shot at Russell, Sean Payton act like he wanted to get at Sierra, and Sierra was like, nah, bruh, you old and lame. And he's like, oh, but Sierra, I'm with it. And she's like, nah, I'm gonna get with Russ. That's how he act. Like, why does he come off like he hate Russell? Like, it's so weird. Anyway, what about the Denver Broncos? We look at the Broncos in the case of where they're at. Oh, they allow a lot of rushing. You saw what they did with the Giants. Basically, Giants almost beat them. And to me, that could have been a slip-up game. Let's overlook the Giants. Now, Denver turned around this past week and put a whooping on the Cowboys, but the Cowboys is trash. T-ass. That's what the Cowboys are. If you look at who the Denver is beating, they beat the Titans, they beat the Chargers, they beat Cincinnati without their quarterback. They did pick up a big victory with Philadelphia. They beat the Jets, they beat the Giants, they beat Washington. Next on their list, though, Houston. Then they got the Raiders. That's a rivalry game. They got the Chiefs, Washington, Raiders, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Chiefs, Chargers. I feel like in the case of Denver, their chances they're not as promising. So Denver currently right now is sitting at 6-2. I feel like Denver's going to lose 5. I think they're going to lose to Houston twice. I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs. And I really feel like they're going to lose to the Chiefs twice. I got them losing 4 games. I got them losing to the Chiefs twice. And then I got them, there. And then that's it. Oh, and Green Bay. I got them losing to Green Bay. They currently sit at... So they'll finish with a good record. But I feel like when they face the Chiefs are going to expose them. Because if you couldn't stop the Giants from getting down the field and getting busy, and if the Colts just basically, banged you out, I don't like their chances when they face teams that are playoff competitors. And I think when they play Houston next, Houston's going to expose them really. Sean Payton's a good coach, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like Denver, I don't have faith in them. I don't know. I don't know if Bo Nix is the answer. I don't believe. Now, New England, that's a different story. Because why? New England's road to the playoffs is a little fairly easy. All right? They got Atlanta. I think they're going to lose. The next losses, I think they lose 2 games going forward. They'll lose to Tampa, and they'll lose to Buffalo. That is it. They'll beat Atlanta. They'll beat the Jets. They'll beat Cincinnati. Unfortunately, they'll beat the Giants. Because if you're the Giants and the Jets, you should not be playing for anything right now other than first pick in the draft. They'll beat Baltimore unless Lamar Jackson comes back, gangbusters. They'll be in Miami. That last game will be the last game of Mike McDaniels. I got New England going 8-2 to finish out the year, which is going to put them basically with a bye, all right? And now, finally, Philly. So, if you look at Philadelphia, and they're on a Super Bowl hangover. Jalen Hurts does... Now, everybody... I'm going to give myself a few minutes here. Everybody got upset that Cam Newton said Jalen Hurts is a great game manager. He is. There's nothing wrong with that. You know who the best game manager was the first part of his career? And I hope everybody in the world is paying attention and listening. My hands is dry, need some lotion. I'm going to rock y'all worlds real quick. So before Tom Brady came back and beat Atlanta in the Super Bowl, up until that point, You know what we all consider Tom Brady? A pretty good game manager. That's right, kids. Tom Brady was not the GOAT before he beat Atlanta in that Super Bowl. Up until that point, Tom Brady's job was not to turn the ball. Oh, but Brent, what about that year? They went 16-1. Yeah, well, he had Randy Moss to throw it to and argue where Randy's ranked in the rankings, but Randy was one of the right. Oh, I could have got 20 touchdowns with Randy Moss as my wide receiver. Tom Brady was the best game manager the first part of his career, bar none. First part of his like before Atlanta, most people would have argued Peyton Manning was the better quarterback because we all watched Peyton Manning at work. We watched he commanded the offense and Omaha, and he's breaking down plays. Like there was a list of people before we got to Tom. It was, and then Tom beat Atlanta, put on a cape, and we said that's Superman. Jalen Hurts is a great game manager, and there's nothing wrong with that because he's not losing the game. All right. For those of you that like Brock Purdy, he loses the games. For those of you that like Aaron Rodgers has lost games. Jalen Hurts is doing his job. He's not losing the game. So right now, Philly, long as Jalen doesn't lose the games, is in a good position. And they honestly have a chance to get back to the Super Bowl because their team is pretty strong. Now, I think they don't need to run and sprint because they did it before. I would like their defense to be a little higher. I like them to sit a little more in the catbird seat as far as how their team is positioned right now. But if you look at the rest of their road to the playoffs, right? They already got their one embarrassing loss to the Giants. They got that out the way, okay? Green Bay's going to be tough. If they beat Green Bay, it's a sprint. Green Bay's going to be tough. Detroit's going to be tough. Cowboys. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. But the Cowboys. They'll probably lose to Chicago because Chicago is one of the best teams when it comes to takeaways. The Chargers, they'll beat. The Raiders, they'll beat. Washington, they'll beat. They'll lose to Buffalo because I think Buffalo's about to flip the script, flip the switch, and start making that run because Josh Allen's running out of time. And then they'll beat Washington. I really feel like Philly's going to finish 7-2, get back in the playoffs, and make some noise again because who's going to beat them? They have a strong team. And again, they don't have to rush. Now, I don't have time for the power rankings. I really don't. Yes, I do. Let's go off the screen, shall we? Let's go. Power rankings. At number 1, I got the Colts. Number 2, Denver. Number 3, Patriots. 4. All right, I can't do it. I didn't write it down. But I have it here. All right, give me a second. I have the power rankings here. Let me see it. All right, kids. So, for the first time ever, the Notorious Sports NFL Power Rankings, which I plan to do every week, if I remember. If not, we're just going to release it on TikTok. All right, sitting at number 1, without a question, are the Colts. At number 2 is the Denver Broncos. At number 3, New England Patriots. At number 4, the Eagles. Gosh darn it. Hold on. It's going to make it much easier if I do it here because I can't see it. All right, we're back. All right. Colts, Broncos, New England, Philly, Chiefs, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Seahawks, Bills, Lions. That is the power rankings. I said it. If you got a problem with it, don't care. I got to move on. All right. And the next segment, what else are we going to talk about? What else is there for us to talk about? There's gambling issues in the NBA. And I love it. And I'm about to go down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy and where this could land and how this could affect the NBA going forward. You'd be surprised, actually, what my answer is. If you like the show, download it on Apple, Spotify. Listen to it on DJ Chase Radio Monday through Friday from 12 to 1. Noon p.m., if you will. Download us. Go to check us out on all social media platforms. TikTok and YouTube, just to name a few. And we'll be right back with more show. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, we're going to go dark. And then we'll be back. Come back. You want to come back. Notorious Sports, everybody. I saw you and him walking in the rain. You can.
Just how we looked at it was